Hi, Samantha Tong from Labrakita again. I am here with Neil Gorman. I'm doing another one of my interviews with people who are specialists either within marketing or related to marketing somehow. And Neil is, well, you've got quite a few businesses, haven't you? But we're talking about Piggy Print today. So Neil, could you talk a little bit about how you started or how you got into printing and a bit about Piggy Print, please?
Okay, so hello everyone, Neil Gorman. How did I get into printing? So I had 17 years before I got into signage and printing in the semiconductor industry. So I was in manufacturing, and in West Lothian we were privileged back then to be classed as Silicon Glen. So jobs were plentiful and opportunities were abundant. But sadly, that industry took a hammering. And I think when I got made redundant for about the third time, I decided it was time for a change. So I got made redundant and I went along to a jobs fair because that's just what you apparently done, because it was the first time I'd been unemployed. And went along, sifted through some CVs and came across a job for a production manager in a sign company. So I decided, well, I'm here now, I might as well throw my hat in the ring, and I put my name forward, and the managing director phoned me the same day and asked me to pop in. Popped in, and we got on really, really well, and he offered me the job there, and then became apparent that it was more an operations manager he needed rather than a production manager, and that was me consumed in the signage industry to start with. So for anybody that doesn't know it, it's a very infectious business. It consumes your life. You drive along and point at signs and pick faults out things. It's quite sad, really. But so I got into that, and during that role, we went to a sign fair, one of the kind of business expo type things, and we were just watching a demonstration for a wide format printer, which we didn't have at the time, and I was just completely blown away with its capabilities. Took it back to the owner of the company, because the managing director that employed me had since left because he fell out with the owner. And so I proposed that we should get one because we were subcontracting that work out at the time. He wasn't willing to make the financial commitment, and I just thought, I could do this. I could do this myself. So I decided to release a bit of equity in my house and started my own business. My first business was actually called Rise and Sign. You'll probably pick up I'm into a cheesy company name. So Rise and Sign was what I first started out as. Very, very tough. Very tough start. Anybody will know starting their own business. Really difficult first few years. If you can imagine all the hassles you get with collecting payments, and if someone doesn't pay you, it was so tough, and I really had to dig in. So just to touch on briefly, so as Sam says, I've got a few business interests. During that time, I took on different roles just to have other income streams, and that's how I got into property as an estate agent. But Piggy Print was born out of Rise and Sign, and that's been going now for about 10 years. So my specialist area was wide format printing, so that would be banners, signage, vehicle graphics, things like that. But I quickly realised that clients would contact me initially maybe about a banner or a sign, but then they would ask me, do you do business cards? Do you do flyers? Do you do embroidered polo shirts? So I started to think, well, rather than saying no, I'm just going to say yes to everything, and I'm going to find associate printers to work with. And so over the years, I've established a network of associates or suppliers to enable me to do everything top to bottom, from whether it's a business card to a building sign. Even if I'm not physically doing it myself, I'll find somebody that can do it and work with them. So that kind of pulled me into print management, and that's where I am now, where I actually got rid of most of my equipment, and now I just print manage and just use associates and suppliers.
So anything printing, someone can come to you and you can organise anything, pretty much.
Yes, pretty much anything brand related at all. Even if it's advice. Sometimes it's easier for me to just pass them on to one of my associates and for me not to be involved. But I'd rather somebody came to me and I can at least point them in the right direction rather than saying, sorry, I don't do it. Unless I get 10 phone calls a week from people saying, can I get an A4 printout, please? And it just baffles me that they've maybe not got a printer in the house or whatever. But I'll try and help anybody, even with small jobs like that. I do have suppliers or associates that are happy to do those small jobs, so I'll always pass them on. So it's just keeping the connections and feeding the work out to whoever I can, as locally as I can as well.
And if I'm sure a lot of people here watching will be, if they're not in marketing, they have to do their own marketing. What should people think about, or what questions should they ask to know that the print manager they're speaking to is someone that they can trust and knows what they're talking about?
I think a lot of the time people come just with an idea that it's very straightforward. I'm looking for business cards. Can you do them, please? And how much are they going to cost? It's guiding them to give me more information. The more information they can give me, then the better looking that their end product's going to be. It's making them understand that sometimes, depending on the business, no disrespect to a window cleaner, for example, they might just want mass quantities of low quality cards because he's firing them through letterboxes. But if an architect or an accountant or something is speaking to me, I would suggest to do something a bit more kind of professional, looking a bit more eye-catching, memorable. And there's so many different types of business cards. I could bore you all to death with it for about an hour. There's even in this current climate we have antibacterial finish cards. So it's a completely evolving industry. There's different lamination types, there's different shapes, sizes, things like that. We try and keep it as uncomplicated as possible. Otherwise, people just run away. I think the key thing is I often get, not often, but I mean, it's common for people to say, well, I could get that on Vista Print for this price. And it's like, I'm like, well, if it's Vista Print you're looking for, then that's absolutely fine. But just remember, you don't have anybody to come back to. You don't have anybody to communicate with. It's the critical parts, the print management side of it, and just guiding them from start to finish.
Yeah, and I think you kind of touched on it there. I think even the stock that you print on, the finish, is actually an expression of the brand. So if you want to communicate quality, you want good quality business cards.
Yeah.
You don't want Vista Print is, I mean, they're all right. I mean, when I first started out, I got my first batch of 200 or whatever it was from Vista Print or some equivalent, which is all well and good. But once I got my really nice business cards, it makes a difference. It really does.
Yeah. I think in terms of, sometimes people have a logo, but often the back of your business card's an opportunity to do something eye-catching. It doesn't just need to be a very clinical looking card. Something I like a card that's got a spot UV finish, so it stands out a little bit, and it's just got something a bit eye-catching. Because people might hold on to it a little bit easier. Sometimes going for a thicker card, is sometimes a good thing, because if people are sticking it in their wallet or whatever, it just sticks out, because you can get cards that have got coloured centres, like a sandwich effect. So there's all these different things. I know some people dabbled with metal cards, things like that. But that's quite extreme, and obviously we're moving into the world now where there's digital business cards. And I know that's a growing business, and whilst it might be pushing the print side out, I think there's always synergies between the both.
Definitely, and we will be, for anyone who's viewing at a different time, just to explain, we are in the middle of a pandemic at the moment, so everything's kind of digital, but we will be back face to face. And I find, I'm sure I'm not alone, if I have something tangible in my hand that someone's given me, I remember them a lot better. I know where I met them. I know the conversation that we had. I find it a lot easier to get home and stick that into my CRM. And it helps people remember you and what you're about, I think.
Yeah.
And I guess the same is true when you're thinking about what you should print on or how it should look when it comes to other types of printing as well, whether that's clothing. I guess you probably do badges, and obviously you do banners, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And are there different banners, for example? That's something that I really hope we'll be using again very soon.
Yeah, again, it's a sector that's grown arms and legs over the years. You get eco banners, you get ones that have got bamboo effect, you've got double-sided ones. I went through a phase middle of last year where I was supplying so many clear banners that were just used for separation in restaurants. So it was literally a pull-up banner, but it was just a clear screen, and it was just used for segregating tables. So the whole COVID safety awareness thing opened a whole new market, and as much as I wish to God I'd never been here, my business actually thrived because I was doing so many floor stickers for social distancing and things like that. So it was just chaos. But like anything, the market just got saturated with suppliers, and then there was the uncertainty. Was it 1 meter? Was it 2 meter? So you have to be very careful that you don't dive in too much and overstock in these items. But yeah, there's pull-up banners have got so many different kind of finishes that again, you can make these things real eye-catching. I like something that when you look at it, you almost take a double take, something that really catches your eye. So I always, when I'm doing some design, I'm not a graphic designer, but when I do some design, I can do design and layout to a degree, and I always try and go for something a bit quirky and eye-catching, just depending on what the business is, of course.
I guess this is the difference between going to a printer and going to a print manager. You can advise on all the different options there are out there from multiple suppliers, I'm guessing.
Absolutely, yeah, and I spoke about Vistaprint, and obviously it's not just Vistaprint. There's so many online suppliers now, and that's just the way of the world, and you can't complain about that. I use some myself for certain things, so I don't ever claim to be the cheapest, or I don't ever claim to try and compete with them, but I'm also it's just myself, so I'm a small operation, so my overheads are non-existent, especially now that we have to work from home. So we try and remain competitive, but if I was to give one bit of advice to anybody that's in a busy sector or starting out, is don't make it a fight to the bottom for price, because you just become a busy fool. I used to term it as, I'll buy some work just to get the job, and it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I paid £300 for my first set of business cards. That including the design of them. So I used a graphic design house to do it, and I was charged £300 for 500 business cards for them to design it and supply it, and I paid it because I just started. I was so enthusiastic starting my own business, and I just thought that was the going rate. So I wouldn't advise paying that again, but don't always go for the cheapest, because it ain't always the best, and
No,
you very rarely do you have comeback.
Yeah, I think that goes the same with everything to do with marketing communications. It really does make a difference. So at the moment, we're locked down. I think a lot of people have just focused purely on digital, but I've found I get people are getting more traction, as long as they have the right postal address and things are being forwarded on, through postal things they send out in the post. So I'm guessing there's like a wide variety of all sorts of different things that you can get branded to send to people and encourage clients to come back to you and get them to remember you.
Yeah, I mean, if you buy things in large enough bulk, you can afford them, and it's the obvious things: key rings, pens, things like that. Mugs are always a great thing, but they're a bit more expensive, but if you're doing customer visits, if you're doing client visits, then things like mugs you can do if you're doing sort of small amounts of appointments over the month. If you're doing a scattergun approach, then pens, key rings, things like that are great. Anything with your brand on it and a website or a contact number, but specifically a website. I went many years without a website or a cobbled website that I put together myself, and I'm staggered that I just fumbled my way through it. I think it was partly because sometimes when you work yourself, sometimes there's only so much work you can take on. But it didn't represent me as a company, just having a really poor looking website. So thankfully, working with Carl at Carbon Design, he put together a fantastic website for me. So and the traction that I've gained from that is just mind blowing. I would maybe get 20 calls a month, and now I probably get 20 calls a week at least.
Wow.
Maybe not so much just now because things are obviously a bit quieter. But yeah, so leave behinds like that. In terms of postal marketing, another thing that kind of spun out of Piggy Print was I would often do flyers for companies, and as usual, you would get asked how much is it for 1,000 flyers, and you would say, well, you give them a price, and you would say, well, in actual fact, just because of the print process, it's almost as cheap to get 5,000 flyers.
Yeah.
And most people would get 5,000 flyers for the extra £25 or whatever it was called cost, but 9 times out of 10 they probably sat in the boot of their car or eventually ended up in the bin. It was just a waste of money. So I put together a booklet of clients locally, first and foremost in Broxburn and Uphall, but it's started to expand now. And rather than them paying for a flyer that was just going to sit and they had to get out to customers or whatever, I decided, well, let's put all these clients together and put them in a booklet. Now, there's lots of booklets out there, advertising booklets, but this is just a very, very straightforward, almost like 15 A5 double-sided flyers stapled together, just a big bold advert, all put together in a booklet and then put into doorsteps. So the client was paying for a full-page advert in the booklet at the same cost it was costing them to get his flyers printed, but they were also landing on doorsteps. So it was pulling everybody together in one publication. And I always maintain, and I don't know if people agree with this, but when you bend down to pick up the flyers at your doorstep, you tend to go like that, look at the front and the back. If it doesn't instantly connect with you, it goes in the bin. But when you pick up a booklet, you'll thumb the pages, and then you'll put it up and you put it in the letter rack or something and say, I'll have a look at that later. Or often look at the back one, or something. If there's one advert in that booklet that catches your eye, you'll hold on to it, and that's to the benefit of all the other advertisers, because you just don't know. And we used to have a little strap line that would say, "Read me, keep me. You just might need me," And it was, and just so it was just little ideas like that. That because I'm not a marketer, as you probably know, Sam. But you just get these little ideas, that things that work better. So yeah, and you share them with your clients and just say, well, rather than paying £99 for 5,000 flyers that you've then got to distribute, why not pay £120, £130 for an advert that you know is going to land on 5,000 doorsteps? So that's became very, very popular. And the way we've done it is we've focused in small localized areas, so that it's local businesses targeting local people.
Right, so you've been innovating.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been going for many years, but problem is I just don't have the time. But just prior to lockdown 2, I started pulling together a team of sales agents who were going around, and this is where it's grown arms and legs now. So we're now in Glenrothes and Kirkcaldy. We've even got a guy in Manchester, because it doesn't matter about the area, as we just need the clients, and then we make a booklet up, and then we just engage with a local distributor, and they just deliver. So but the key message is that the publication is called Live Local, Buy Local, and the key message is to help support local businesses.
Yeah.
So because I think now more than ever, all our businesses need to work together as much as we can.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's been great the fact that, I mean, lockdown's been horrid, but it's been great to see just how many businesses are really willing to help each other out. Yeah, brilliant. But yeah, I guess that shows that one thing I always try and remind people: don't just think digital. It's really important to think about, because you can, yes, email's cheap, and it can be effective. I'm certainly not saying don't do it at all, but don't discount physical mail, because it's so nice to actually get something in the post.
Yeah, I think you need to integrate them all together and make sure that they all kind of bounce off each other. But for me, the best marketing is face to face all day long anyway, and that's, I miss that so much in terms of our networking group. The online stuff's been great, but I'm looking forward to stale rolls and rubbish coffee and but just some face to face chat.
Same. Oh my word, I'm itching to get out. I don't know when it'll be, but I am absolutely itching to get there as soon as we've all had the jab.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think Colin said at the meeting on Friday that he's maybe thinking next year before networking groups get together. But hopefully, with Business IQ West Lothian being a smaller organisation, we could manage that a bit better and do it sooner.
We can be a bit more nimble than the.
That was a shameless plug there.
Yeah, shameless plug for Business IQ West Lothian, guys. Great networking group. I think networking groups, smaller ones, can be a bit more nimble. As soon as we're allowed, we can do it the next week, as opposed to the big ones. And another reason to still think about your physical print and making sure that you do have your business cards ready when we're ready to go. You do have your banners, your and think about some of the smaller trade shows that will probably start up again
as
well. So are there any other things that you think people should think about when it comes to print?
Yeah, no, I think we covered most things. I think for sure, don't be scared to pick up the phone to me, to any print company, any small print company that isn't a trade print or a Vista print or whatever. They speak to them and ask for some advice. Even if you think you've got the perfect business card already or you've got the best ideas, you've got to remember that we're doing this day in, day out. So we can advise and certainly help, and even if it's a case of just looking for some layout support and you want to go and get it online, that's fine. If sometimes, especially small businesses that are just starting up, prices are absolutely critical, but just don't cheapen your brand by going cheap. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Neil. It's food for thought, I think. I think so much has gone, so many people think it's just digital now, and I think print's so important. And yeah, good to think about, and I absolutely agree. Think about your brand. If you're trying to say that you're the best quality, if you're not the cheapest, probably you don't want the cheapest business cards, etc.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. Brilliant. So thank you very much. And doing a series of these guys. So have a look out for the ones that are up there they're on my website, they're on my YouTube. I'm putting them out on social media as well. Lots of good advice out there. So brilliant. Thank you very much, Neil. And
okay, stuck in, everyone.